In this video, I'm going to show you how to make an amazing resume template using Adobe InDesign. The first thing that we'll need to do is make a new document. So if you go up to File, New, and select Document, this will give you some document property settings. I'm going to change the page size to A4 and make sure it's portrait. There's no need to change any other settings for this template. The only thing I'm going to do is switch off this Facing Pages button. When you're ready, say OK, and that will load you up a blank A4 page. Now, in InDesign, you'll notice that on the right-hand side here, your colors are all in this swatches palette, but you need to actually load swatches for them to appear there. So what I usually do is go online and find a color palette. So let's say, for example, I'm going to use this one. I'll copy this image, go to InDesign, paste it, and leave it on the side of my page. I then use the color dropper tool to select colors. And once they appear here as an inside fill color, I then say create new color swatch, and that adds it into the color swatches, which means that I can now use it to fill shapes. So it's usually a good idea to load all your colors up before you begin. So if we look at the resume we're creating, the elements that are on it are basically made of basic shapes, mainly all rectangles, and then a couple of text boxes. And we're going to use a basic line tool to create these lines. So step one, we'll grab the rectangle tool and draw our first few rectangles up at the top of the page. So that's our first rectangle. I might draw the second one as well. And then to fill them with color, select your mouse tool and click on the rectangle. You'll need to click on the line because the inside has no color, so you can't select objects from the center like that. So that's our first rectangle, and I'll fill that with one of our colors. The second rectangle, I'll fill that with a color as well. I might use one of these colors. You can also select objects like basic shapes and directly select them with the color picker like that. I'm going to use the rectangle tool again to draw a box in the center. This box I will make transparent with a white outline. Now to increase the thickness of this outline, you can go to the stroke settings and increase the weight so that it's slightly thicker. So that's 2 points. I'm then going to use the line tool to add basic like straight lines to the side. Once I have one, you can copy and paste the other one to save time. So I'm going to shift select both lines and just make sure that they are white and that they're also 2 points. Now these rectangles have an outside color fill of black, so it's important if you don't want them to be black to switch off that color fill. So that's the top part of the resume. The next thing we're going to do is use the text tool to draw a text box and add our name. Now with the text box, if you select the text, up at the top here are all your text settings. So you can pick your font and change the size of your font, and also change the color of your font. So just put that on top. Now, if your text boxes are big, you can double click on the side like that to snap them into place. That will allow you to, that will snap the text box around the text. Okay, so we've got the top part. Our next job is to make this part over here. If we have a look at these are basically just 3 rectangles. So that was 1 rectangle, 2 rectangles, 3 rectangles. So again, it's just using really basic shapes and text boxes. And usually once I have one text box with the font I'm going to use, I then just copy and paste that box to save time. All right, so adding text to main, I might copy this across as well. There we go. Now to create the icons for this part over here, just change the color of that to gray, and I'll change that to blue so that matches. Now to add icons, I just use a basic circle tool to draw the circle. So in your shapes tool, you can draw a circle. Hold down shift when you're drawing a circle to keep it locked in to proportion, otherwise it will won't be straight. And I'll make the circle transparent and the outline white. So that's the basic outside of the icon. Now, the images that I've used, which I'll just change. So this view over here is in what's called preview mode. So it doesn't show the outside of the artboard. If I change that to normal, you can see all my working out on the side of my artboard. And you can see these pictures that I have taken from the Noun project. So I'm just using those today. And to place images, so I'm just copy that across. Now in InDesign, when you're resizing shapes, you have to press Shift and Command to lock them into proportion. If you resize without pressing Shift and Command, it actually puts a mask on the shape, and that sort of crops the shape a little bit. So say for example I resize this without pressing Shift and Command, that's what happens. The other thing you can do in InDesign is if you double click on an object, it will automatically add a mask around it. So that's how you can make your little icons. So the next thing we're going to do is add a photograph in and mask it into a shape like this. So if we have a closer look at this, it's just a photo and it's been put inside a rounded rectangle. Now the other thing is when you open up InDesign, your display performance will be automatically at typical display. If you want to see photo images at their quality that they are when you bring them in, you need to change that to high quality display. All right, so to bring images and objects in, you use the File Place menu. And you notice that if you do have images, Adobe stock images or anything in your libraries, you can bring them in from using File Place from libraries as well. So I'm just going to go to my desktop and find my photo. And you just click once to position down the photo. Again, resizing, just holding Shift and Command to resize. So the next thing I'm going to do is use the basic shape tool to draw a mask around the image. So let's say I want that part of the image. I'm just going to make that transparent and give it a blue outline. Change the stroke setting to 2 to keep all the lines uniform. Now with your rectangle, if you select it, you can see up here in the top, you've got options for the corner of the rectangle. So I might choose a rounded edge, and you can increase and decrease the radius of that edge as well, like that. Now to place this image inside the shape, you click on the picture and cut it. So edit, cut. And then you click on the image and you go edit, paste into, and that places the image into the shape. And to modify it, you can double click and you'll see the original size of the image, so you can move it and position it where you want to have it. So I'll leave that there for now. Okay, so we're now going to add a couple of text boxes. So to add a text box, I'm using the text tool. Just draw the shape of your box, so that one is going somewhere there. And the good thing is if you don't know what text you're going to put inside, you can right click and just say fill with placeholder text, and that will just put in some filler text for the moment while you're creating a layout. So manipulating text in InDesign is quite different to Illustrator. So I've selected the text and I'm going to go and pick my font. You change the size of your font if you need to. And again, you can change the color through the swatches. I might just leave that black. And in here, so here's your justify options. Because that's a big text box, I'm going to justify it to the side with the bottom line being left indented. This is a good justification for columns. And in here, there's also settings like kerning and to space all your text out, but at the moment, I don't really need that, so I won't use that now. Let's position that there. All right, so to create, just copy this across as well. All right, now to create main little bodies of text like this, I've just drawn a text box and typed up my text. And now I guess this is just a matter of preference. I usually leave all my elements of text in separate boxes, and then I copy and paste them as needed and place them underneath like that. But say you wanted to space some of your alphabets out like this, you could select it and come up here, and you can see like that spreading the alphabets out, and you can adjust the space in between the alphabets as well. So that's sometimes quite handy if you can't, if your font looks a little bit too squashed. Okay, so we've got a basic framework. Again, once you've made one, style, you can just copy and paste it for your next section like that. And then what else do we have here? So we've got in the skills section here, I've tried to, be a little bit creative with the bars or things that I'm using. And if we take a closer look at them, I have pretty much drawn them with a basic line tool. So I've used this line to create a straight line. And then I've made that straight line quite thick. Just change the color. And then I've used a little basic black line to create the end part. And to bring objects to the back and front, you can just right click on them and use the arrange menu. So arrange center back. And again, I've just got another line here for that part. So that's one option. And then you can see here on the side, I've sort of made some other little options here. This is just a rectangle with another colored rectangle over it. And this is a rounded rectangle. So using the rectangle tool with a rounded edge and a circle. So you can make some cool things with just using the basic shapes. And putting it all together, if I zoom out, we've got a nice layout. So just keeping in mind, if you want to have a look at the preview mode, you can change that to preview and you won't see the artboards. So that's an example of one design, and sort of made another one here. Again, if we have a look at it, it's really just basic shapes. These were drawn with a pen, so if you want to use a pen to draw shapes, you can use a pen tool and sort of just clicking for straight lines. There's no curves, so I don't have to curve the pen for that shape. But there's another idea of a design. And then the last one I'll show you is one that I did in Illustrator. So this is one of the templates for my resume. That's the cover page, and the inside pages look like that. And the last thing I'll do is show you how to add pages to this document, because you may need a couple of pages. So you can come up here to the Pages tab and you click on this little button, and you can actually duplicate the page, which is not a bad idea, because if there's elements on it that you want to use again, you might just delete all that and still use some elements on it. So that's how you add pages. And if you want to move them around, you can use this page move tool. That will allow you to sort of drag your pages and lay them out in different positions. Saving your file. So you go up to File, Save As, name the file appropriately, and then place it in the folder and just say save. You don't need to change this format. You can just leave it in an InDesign raw format. And then the next thing you might want to do is learn how to export, because you may need to send it around as a PDF. So File, Export, and you can change the setting over here to PDF. And if you notice that in the menu, there's also an option to export it straight away to a compressed quality. So you can experiment to see which file type suits you. Well, good luck with making your resume, and thanks for watching.